Hello, it is Doug here. This is the live Q&A for affiliate marketing and probably a little project management thrown in. Usually we talk about Amazon affiliate sites and we actually have a handful of questions that were sent in, which is very cool. I heard my own voice there, so that means people can hear me. Welcome everyone. I see Lance is in the house. If you're just joining up, please do let me know in the chat where you're from. If you're watching the replay, that's awesome too. Leave a comment. Say, hey, I watched the replay. I watched the replays, something like that. And if you have a question, let me know. We're going to try a slightly different format today, just tweaking it a little bit. A lot of people are asking questions across various videos on the channel, which is fantastic. I want you to do that. If you have a question, ask it on other videos. And what I'm trying to do is sort of consolidate them and answer them here. And I'll give you a shout out. So I'm going to kind of skip to those first today. Hopefully that'll get us thinking about some of this affiliate marketing stuff and that sort of thing. Now, before we get to the questions, I want to make a couple quick announcements. They're pretty fast. So one, I have a bunch of frequently asked questions that I wrote out the questions. I wrote out the answers. They're actually listed in the description. There's a link to the page on my website, nichesiteproject.com/FAQ. So if you have a question, you maybe want to scroll down, take a look at the description, peruse the list. If there's anything close to what you're thinking of asking, maybe take a look at that. However, feel free to ask. That's what these sessions are for. And I can't blame you if you just showed up and you don't know what's on the list, or you're watching on your phone or whatever. That's fine. So welcome anyone who is not subscribed. If this is your first live session, thanks for joining up. And if you're not subscribed, check out a couple videos. If you like it, please subscribe. I do see we have Josh, we have Dennis, Stephen, Justin, Mark, Jeremy, and Rose, and Duke. So this is great. Thanks to all the moderators that are out there. There's a few affiliate links in the description. If I run out of things to say, I'll talk about those later. But without further ado, I'm going to hit the questions that were sent in. And like I said, if you have questions, particularly if you're watching the replay, or if you think of a question later when we're not doing a live stream, you can ask your question on this video would be ideal. But if you see another video, ask there. Dawood Ahmed says, I just started the site and it's been a month. I'm stuck as I can only find keywords with search volumes of 10 to 20 per month for the keyword golden ratio. Please tell me if it's okay that all my articles are in this range, or should I search for more keywords in the 100 to 200 region? Okay, and that was Dawood. So Dawood, I think it is going to be fine if your site's only a month. So it's pretty young, and I think targeting that lower keyword volume is a great thing. So I recommend going for it. And I think probably over time, you'll find other keywords in higher search volumes that will be just fine. So you're on the right track going for low competition stuff, just in general. So go for it. Another question that was sent in, As They Grow UK asks, can I explain why I chose to sell an Amazon affiliate site for $235,000 instead of keeping it? And I put a link in the description if you want to catch up on that story where I talk about selling the site and that sort of thing. So there's a link in the description. Basically, it was the point of the exercise. So I partnered up with a friend of mine on a site. We worked on it with the whole purpose of selling it. And all along the way, we had checkpoints and different decision points, whether we wanted to sell it or hang on to it, or one of us buy the other out, or whatever, right? We didn't rule out anything. But at the end, we wanted to work on other stuff. The project ran its course. We could work on other things that were interesting. We're very fortunate in that we didn't need the money specifically to sell the site, or we didn't need the cash flow. So we really could do whatever we wanted. We opted to sell the site. We actually did that through Empire Flippers, and we were able to work on other things, and we had a nice injection of cash. All right, 1 second. All right. And next question. Chris Milton says, is there a minimum amount of content before you should launch a niche site? So, not really. In my advice, typically, is to launch a site with like 10 pieces of content, half of it informational, half of it like product review oriented. That's all you really need. Can you launch with more content? You can, but usually it's not super helpful unless you're doing like a massive amount of content, maybe like Duke. So I saw some people were referencing just publishing a lot of content. Now I talk about that a lot, but I mean, I think link building and promotion is really important. Marketing is important. All right. That's my belief. I know you can take another approach, but I think it's valuable to build skills across the spectrum for affiliate marketing. So part of it is, keyword research, part of it is content, working with teams, part of it is, setting up your domain, working with WordPress. Another part of it is promotion and marketing. And if you get the full suite of skills, you're going to be better off in the long run than if you only work on one part. By the way, most people don't like to do the link building and outreach portion, and it's a lot easier to do the content. So if you can do both of them, you're going to be better off. All right. If people are just joining up, welcome. If you're new to the channel, that's awesome. If it's the first time you're on a live stream, that's cool too. Feel free to subscribe if you like what we're talking about here. There's a lot of videos, a lot of free content. A few other people joined up. We have Alwayne, Tima, Paul, Jill, Otto. Let's see here. We got Paul has a question, Best Passion, and Ches from Scotland. All right. So if you do have questions, you can leave a comment anywhere. If you're catching the replay later, Paul is saying this. I'm having difficulties finding keyword golden ratio terms. The only ones have a 0 local monthly search volume. So basically, look harder. All right. It's hard to find these, especially when you're starting out. And if you spend more time developing the skill, then you should be able to get better at it. All right. So that isn't super helpful, but I recommend, looking at competitor sites. Here's a great one. Go to forums and then check to see what they're ranking for. And a lot of times those are pretty low competition keywords. So you should be able to hopefully get better, and it takes time. If it's hard for you to find them, then that's normal. That is 100% normal. Okay. Aysha says, how can you ignore the Google recaptcha when you're finding a keyword golden ratio term? You can't. You have to enter it in. So this is a manual process, the keyword golden ratio. It takes a while. And that is part of the value of why it works, because you can't just, go grab a list that's super awesome. And even if you find a KGR term, you still need to look at it and see if it's a viable term that an affiliate site can rank for. So there's a lot of them that, maybe they fit the formula, but when you go look with your own eyes, you see that it's too tough, right? There's too much competition, and Google is looking at the searcher's intent, and they're sort of simplifying it and providing results that actually answer the question that the searcher is looking for. All right. Will Scott says, I have a question. All right. Nice opening. Is it a good idea to make sort of a quote mini blog on your niche site where you can post things that don't fit into other categories? I'm mainly asking because I want to know if it's a good idea to make a new post there every time I land a guest post on a site. It would make me look more authoritative and authentic, I think, but would it hurt my chances of landing future guest posts if the owner saw that I was constantly getting guest posts on blogs and such? So it's an interesting question, Will. You've obviously thought about, how people will perceive you, building authority, actually getting guest posts. But here's the deal. You're overthinking it. So who cares? No one, if someone sees that you've guest posted on a lot of sites and they go check them out and they're high quality, they'll think, wow, that's really high quality. And I think he can write well. So I think it would be great, Will, if you actually, had the social proof on your site. Now, I don't think it's necessary to create a page or mini blogs or whatever you're thinking to say that you were on a guest post. Not really necessary. And then categories, I don't even really mess with them that much. I mean, it's very few people that are going to start looking through your categories and browsing through your site. So I don't think any of the stuff that you mentioned matters. I've never done any of the things that you're describing. If you wanted to try it, I encourage you to try it. I think it could be a waste of time. It probably won't hurt anything, but it probably doesn't matter. And there's a million things that you can do that probably won't matter that much. So yeah, I don't think it'll matter too much at all. All right. Shubham says he has a physics test. Okay, good luck. And Rohit's from India. Great. All right. Last question that was sent in, and feel free to, ask some questions in the chat. Otherwise, I'll start ad-libbing here. We never know where that goes. All right. Abdullah says, I want to start an Amazon affiliate site, but I can't find quality writers. Can I suggest any platform for quality writers? Okay. Basically, I recommend Upwork. That's where I find all my writers, and it's a great platform. I can tell you that in the thread where Abdullah asked this question, he said, well, I don't have a credit card. I can't work on Upwork. I don't know what to do. So at that point, I said, hey, let's brainstorm. There's like writers out there that want to write and you want to pay them, right? So you should be able to do it. Abdullah didn't write back. All right. I'm going to make a small example out of Abdullah. So he didn't write back. Maybe he's busy or whatever. And I said, hey, what about Craigslist? Like there's a bunch of places. Have you tried Craigslist? And basically, every step of the way, if you're doing some entrepreneurial activity, you're going to hit a dead end. You're going to think you can do something, whatever it is. You're going to think you can execute in a certain way, and it's going to be different than you expect. Either the scenario is going to be different, maybe something changes, and maybe someone that you're going to try and work with like changes the rules of the game, right? So any number of things can go wrong. And when that happens, you have to be flexible and adapt and figure out how to do it. Now, it's great that we have a community here where we can ask questions and stuff, but I would say if you can't find a writer, well, you just got to think like, where would people be that want to work and write? And then go there and like keep checking stuff. So, and I mean, you did the right thing by asking, right? Because we all have resources. There's a lot of people that watch this stuff. Maybe someone has a secret, sort of plan about, finding writers that they could tap you in. Hey, this Craigslist group is really, or not group, but a Craigslist like sort of sub heading is really good for gigs, and you could find a lot of great writers there. I don't know, but you have to go and look. So basically everything's going to go wrong. Everything's going to take longer than you think. It will be more expensive. And that is just the way it is. Okay. We see that Anthony's on. What's up? Awesome content says Wikipedia links always use the same anchor text when we talk about interlinking. How much exact match anchor text is too much when doing interlinking between posts? I'm not sure. I've never tested exactly like what threshold, but I would say, try and make it natural. If you can use partial match, maybe the exact match is in there, but it's a longer phrase, that's probably a good thing. Less is more, just in general. And the good part is you control the links. So basically you'd be able to change it in the future if you want. And basically it's a little bit better to like undershoot it than overshoot it. And funny thing for the people that are frequent on the live streams. So the other day, I did a live stream to just announce that I was going to do a webinar, and we ended up with like 50 people in like, I don't know, 10 minutes or something. This one I scheduled ahead of time, and we have fewer people, and I'm just a little baffled. I'm unsure what the major difference was, to be honest with you. I have no clue. Maybe I need to do it a little earlier in the day. Not really sure. Very, very strange. Okay. Daewoo has another question live in the chat. Please help. You're stuck. Okay. Refer back to what I said before. This is totally normal. So if you're stuck, then that's expected. You're only getting search volumes for 10 and 20 searches per month. Is it okay if almost all your content is blah, blah, blah? And Daewoo, I've already answered your question. All right. So I would recommend that you rewind and watch it. And the answer is, yeah, you could do it. Go for it. You'll find higher search volumes later. And you are actually the first question. So you missed it earlier. It's a little more thorough then. So go take a look. Anthony says, what's a good rate for a writer? Okay, Duke says he pays $20 per 1,000 words. That's a good rate. Sometimes you can get it for a little bit less. Okay, Awesome says, you assume overdoing it is bad because of Penguin. That's probably a good assumption. But apparently Wikipedia URLs are not penalized. That is, I think you're making some interesting points there, but none of our sites are anything like Wikipedia. So I think it's probably a little bit different. So you can't do the same things that Wikipedia does. All right. All right. So if you have other questions, feel free to write them in the chat here. Welcome, everybody, if you're just joining up here. Anthony says, how much do you pay your writers? So basically, I'm aiming in the $15 to $20 range for 1,000 words or so. A little bit more than I had been paying, but it just depends on who it is and how long they've been working for you and stuff like that. Dennis is on. How's it going? And Anthony says, do I think if someone focuses on producing YouTube videos related to their niche is better than backlinking? Well, it depends on what your goal is. So what's your overall goal? I'm not sure. I think it really depends on, like, if you're trying to send people to Amazon via YouTube, or if you're trying to get traffic to your site from YouTube. And Dennis has a great suggestion. Go to Answer the Public or Uber Suggest for KGR suggestions. Nice. Yep, that's a good place to go. Jonathan says, hey, Doug, what's going on, Jonathan? All right. Next, we have Duke says, have I ever dealt with a bot attack using Bing to arrive at your site and then bouncing under 15 seconds? You're concerned it's a user experience, negative SEO attack. Not that I observed. That could be, but I don't know. I have not noticed. All right, Ravi says you get $5 for 1,500 and $15 for 5,000. Okay, and this is interesting. I was talking about this in the live stream yesterday. That it was a free training, the webinar. So someone mentioned that they pay like $60 for 1,000 words, and it's terrible and it's unusable. And I remarked that it's interesting because some people, like Ravi, for example, they say, hey, I get it for like dirt cheap, $5 for 1,500 words. So what is that, like 18% of like the price? I don't know. I'm losing track of the math here, but some people get it for super cheap. My hunch is, and Ravi, no offense, I haven't read it, but I have a feeling it's not very good. I mean, I just, there's no way. I don't think it's going to be very good. However, if it's working for you, keep going. But it's amazing the range of prices that I see. Dennis says he paid $30 for 2,400 words. Okay, so that's in the range that we're talking about. And Jill says, "Oh yeah, so Jill, yeah, you could have watched the interview with Duke already. You could check it out." Jonathan says, "Do I feel that alt text for photos in Amazon HTMLs are a big deal?" Not a big deal, but I would pay attention to them. And all right, Raul says, "Should I start selling KGRs?" I wouldn't I mean, sure, if you want to. I think it'll be an uphill battle to like get people to trust you. I mean, you could just resell the same ones over and over again. So if someone was selling me KGRs, I wouldn't trust them. I'm just paranoid, right? Like the internet is a scary place for freelancers who are trying to sell you something and you don't know who they are. They have no credibility or anything. So if I were selling KGR, I don't know how I would manage to show people that I'm not just reselling the same one over and over again, same ones over and over. Okay. And Ravi is saying you have to convince the writers and you will definitely get good writers at a decent amount. And I think sure. I don't know. I don't know anyone in the US who would really be able to work for that for a length of time. I think you can convince people to work for less for a little bit, but I mean that is such a low rate that I don't think it would be sustainable. So, yeah. All right. And Zabi's on. What's up? Okay. Any other questions out there? If not, I'm just going to start freestyling here. And by the way, if you're just joining up, welcome. There are frequently asked questions, and I would recommend you take a look at the list in the description where the answers are a little bit more thought out and thorough. And sometimes there's links and templates. By the way, do people need templates for, say, hiring on Upwork? I have one that I share pretty often, and I'll see if I could find the link for you really quick here. But if you can essentially, I think I can just send you right to the FAQ page, and right at the top you can get all my templates and systems for niche sites. So my hiring templates are there and all that stuff. All right. So Jill is asking, you find the site stripe gives small images, so you found a plugin that lets you put bigger ones through the API. So you're not breaking the rules, but it is a good idea to have a pile. I don't know what that means. What a pile. Let me know what you actually mean there. And I don't know which plugin you're using, but some plugins are not compliant in that they download the image anyway. So, all right. And Josh says, is it true we aren't allowed to use Amazon product images on your site? You have to pull it through the API, like Duke is mentioning there. Dennis says it takes about 2 to 3 hours to research and create and publish a 1,000-word article yourself. Okay. So a couple other things I could point out are just random stuff. So I'm going to talk about random stuff now. I was keeping some notes about things that I'm working on. So one thing that's cool, Human Proof Designs, and is doing like a guest post from me before too long. So I've been drafting it up this week, and I'll probably be sending it over. I'm not 100% sure when they're going to publish it, but it'll be coming out probably before the end of the month, I believe. And by the way, I'm doing the Q&A today because I'm going to be out of the office tomorrow. And the next couple days, I'll be going down to Yellowstone at some point, doing a vlog down there. So I've been doing a little bit more vlog content because it's slightly more interesting in some ways. And the other part is I'm just feeling a little more comfortable carrying my camera around just in general. So that's cool. And thanks everyone who watches the vlog content. I do appreciate it. I know it's a smaller subset since most people are interested in the marketing portion of what I talk about. But I like it when people watch like the video of Georgie, the dog. So we actually got second place. I should have her little trophy here. All right. So Jonathan says you tried Raven SEO and it's saying you have broken Amazon links, but they seem to connect. Do I have to relink? I got to be honest with you. I haven't used Raven SEO, but I would ask their support. And my assumption would be if it works, you don't have to worry about what an external SEO tool tells you. My guess is it just doesn't follow the redirects properly, and it's a problem with the tool. Okay. So, in a quick note about the images, since people are asking about that, I typically just use the site stripe images. I think people put too much weight on the images, and if you're clever about it, you can actually use the curiosity of not having the image to help people go to Amazon. So, what does that mean? Here's an example. So you don't have the image, but you can have like a picture from that maybe you took, right? Maybe it's a picture of if you're doing the whole ballpoint pen example that I always talk about, maybe you could take a picture of a ballpoint pen, maybe not the one you're reviewing or anything like that, but just a scene that has a pen. Then you could say, check out the image of, this Pilot G2 pen on Amazon. And then you use curiosity to get someone to go over. All right. All right. Lance says, do you do the vlog stuff so you can write off the vacations and trips? Well, not specifically, but I probably could do more of that. I probably could do a lot more of that. I think there maybe have been like one or two times. I mean, it was like legit trips and stuff like that. But yeah, I haven't done like a full trip like that. But that's a good idea. I should start doing that. All right. Josh says, would I say there's a direct correlation between the amount of content and the revenue? I think there's a strong correlation. I think you can misconstrue that, right? If you have a lot of content that is not getting the right kind of traffic that's going to make a purchase on your site, then no, it wouldn't necessarily directly correlate. So if it's the right kind of keywords and the right kind of traffic for what you're trying to do, then yes. All right. Looking through the questions. Zabby says, would it be possible to get some feedback on your blog? Blah, 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 blah. Yes. Okay. And I don't mention this enough. I should probably push it harder. I do one-on-one coaching. So Zabi, I can do a full audit of your site. I'll shoot a video. We go one-on-one and we will talk back and forth. And I'll, let's see, I edit it down. I put it on my Vimeo Pro account, and then you could watch it later in case there were, something that you want to like review or something like that. Happy to do it. It's $247 an hour. And that includes like a little pre-work so I can prepare ahead of time. And then it also includes like the editing and stuff, which that's sort of a new thing that I'm doing, but people really seem to love it. So happy to do it. Zabi, if you go to, if you follow the link, nichesiteproject.com /FAQ in the menu, you should be able to find the hire me section. So Raoul says, any update on expired domains versus fresh? No updates from me, but I would recommend you don't use an expired domain. Use an existing domain. So buy a blog, basically. All right. And Duke is giving us a ninja tip. And he says for site stripe images, you could change the size, you could find the code, and change the number to the amount of pixels wide you want your image. And Duke, does it take care of the resolution as well? So, or does it like blow up a 250 by 125 to like something huge? All right. Next, we have Anthony saying, how do I manage my expenses when it comes to my businesses? Do you mean how do I do bookkeeping, or do you mean how do I keep track of the expenses, or how do I keep expenses from going out of control, or something different? Ryan says, at what point do you quit or give up on a site? So me personally, I haven't like it's been a little while since I've had like a big failure, which is good, but at the point where it's like non-recoverable. And I had some issues with doing gray hat techniques and such. So I had my sites penalized few years ago. At this point, it's been a while, thank God, like 2014. But the the main idea is that if you've picked a reasonable niche, maybe you want to ask a more specific question. So if you've picked a reasonable niche and you've done generally the right stuff, you should have some traction within a few months, and then you can make an assessment on what direction you need to go in. But sometimes it's like you're really close to succeeding, and if you just push through a little bit longer, then you should be fine, and you'll realize you were super close to quitting. And sometimes, I mean, the people that don't get this stuff to work, usually they quit a little too soon. So Josh says, would you say links change the equation between the amount of content and the revenue, meaning more links requires less content? Yes. Yeah. All right. Robbie says your site's about 3 months old. You're getting 250 to 600 per day. If a person focuses and creates contents for users who are looking for answers to his questions, then definitely. Okay. Cool. And I think, yeah, if you have the user in mind, that's great. If you have the user in mind, you'll be able to, deliver value and that sort of thing. Next, and Ravi's a great example. So 3 months, you're getting plenty of traffic, and that's awesome. All right. Alwyn says, you think the video about publishing 200 KGR posts is interesting? Did I make 15,000 just for the month of December, or is the revenue for a year? Just for the month. I think that year, that particular year, 2016, it made like over 30,000 or so. So most of it was in that month, but it was a lot of growth through the year. Anthony says, how do I keep track of the expenses? How do you budget yourself? What do I use for bookkeeping? Okay. So I'm using like a legacy system. I wouldn't have set it up this way. At one point, actually, let's go back to the beginning. So I got started with internet marketing in like 2013. And initially I just, had my personal bank account that I used. But once I started making, I think maybe a couple $100 per month or so, which was within a few months, I created a second like account to keep track of stuff, right? So if I remember right, it may have still been like a personal type account because I didn't have a business formed yet. I didn't have a company, but I had a separate credit card that I used and a separate checking account. So at that point, it's pretty easy to keep track of like everything because I could just pull a report from the credit card and then the checking account, and I would know exactly like what to do. The app that I use currently is called Wave, And it's fine. Like if I was starting right now, I would probably use either the QuickBooks Online or Zero. There's FreshBooks. There's a handful of them. From what I could tell, they're all roughly equivalent. They're roughly the same price, and they pretty much will integrate with like the stuff that you need them to. So it's pretty straightforward, and it probably doesn't matter which one you use. So me personally, I do like my own bookkeeping. Last year, or basically when I formed the company, there was a year where I had like part sole proprietorship, part company. And at that point, I realized I didn't know what I was doing. So I hired an accountant and they handle payroll and my like taxes, my annual taxes, personal and business. And then I do my own bookkeeping each month, which is a great way. That is sort of how I know, like, okay, this is where expenses are. So when I'm going through and I'm investing, $1,500 a month in content, I can see like each week, like each month as I'm going through how much I'm spending. And while I was getting started, I basically was like, okay, I couldn't afford to pay for hosting, or I could afford to buy this tool or whatever. And for the content, it was a little unclear if the ROI would pan out in the future. So basically, if you just keep track of it, you will hopefully gain a little confidence in investing in content, knowing that you'll probably get an ROI and that sort of thing. So anyway, hope that's helpful. Josh asks, being an entrepreneur and plump full of ideas, how do I stay focused and instead of chasing down every cool idea? I just do it. It's unhelpful, I know. The thing that I learned, because there was a point not that long ago, and I still chase too many things, by the way, but there was a point not that long ago where I like would try new things, or I would try too many new things. I would start too many new projects. And even recently, I took on a little bit of work, a little freelance work, and I'm like, it's good money, but it's like an extra thing to do. So you have to sort of look at how you end up feeling after you're doing like chasing the ideas, and then like how are you getting the results you want? Do you enjoy it? Is it getting you closer to what you want to try and do? And as I saw that the more things I worked on, the worse I did, and the fewer things that I worked on, the better everything was. It's really easy to just say no to most things most of the time. Hendrik says top 3 growth hacks for bloggers. I think okay, I usually don't like these kind of questions, but I'll play along. I would recommend maybe like trying to be a guest on podcasts and YouTube collaborations. Get out in front of like as many different people as you can, and then the third would be go out there and network. So if you can network with people, even if you're not a guest on their show, they may be able to introduce you to other people. All right. Now, the couple other things coming up. So I mentioned the guest post on human proof designs coming up pretty soon. It'll be on project management and scaling, and a couple case studies where I kind of walk you through the process. And I give you specific examples, but really you could apply it to like any time you're building a team or scaling or like doing a project. Now, another cool thing is actually going to come out next Monday. I'm doing a series on side hustles. So I have 4 guests coming up. I've been talking about this a little bit over the last couple of weeks, but I did some interviews, really good interviews with like a different set of people that aren't normally on the channel. So I'm excited to do that and hopefully do more of those kind of interviews. So look out for that on Monday. Should be pretty good. All right. And by the way, Thanks a lot for everyone in the chat, answering the questions that you see pop up and all that stuff. All right. Anthony says you have the opportunity to buy a site that you are interested in on Flippa. The seller is asking for way more, 10K, for the site that's not bringing in nearly that in a year. Okay. And Anthony further says they mentioned the overhead is 120 per month to maintain, and they only make about 400 a year on affiliate links. Okay. Dennis says that most sites sell between 20 to 30 times the monthly revenue, but you actually mean profit, I think, Dennis. So, yeah, I don't know. That's all interesting. Anthony says they mentioned if the blog is well done, the site can make more. It's only been online for a year and a couple months. Is it worth it? No clue. I can't give you advice on that with the amount of data that you just told me. But I do consultations. Like if you're about to spend tens of thousands of dollars, it's probably worth it to get like a unbiased opinion from an expert. So if you don't hire me, you should hire somebody before you drop that kind of cash and buy a site. If they're having to convince you that the site could make more, I would probably assume that they're just trying to get a little more than what the site's worth. I don't know. Jill says it's time for a beer. It's only 12:40 and I have some other work to do today, but a beer is in my future. Okay. And Asfar says, is the KGR method for long tail keywords? I don't know. I don't understand your question. And then you say, you told to go for about 1,000 words. Is there any problem if you go for 2,000? I'm not sure what you're talking about or what you're referring to. If you want to rephrase it or someone could break it down for me, that would be great. But I don't remember saying any of that stuff. All right. Okay. Any other questions out there? And if I'm skipping some of them, I'm not like super interested in them. So nothing. Either like we've already answered it a bunch or whatever. Josh says, who do I look up to in the affiliate space? I don't know. I really don't read that many blogs or really watch that many YouTube videos associated with like the exact stuff that I'm working on, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I don't know. Bryce. Oh yeah, Bryce, we're going to be talking soon. And by the way, there's a lot of students in the chat. You can mention that, you're a student if you want to. All right. Yeah, thanks folks for answering the questions in here that I don't get. Sometimes the context is unclear. I'll tell you who I look up to. I've been watching a lot of, maybe not that I look up to specifically, but it's very interesting. I've been watching Seinfeld, like from the beginning with my wife. I think I saw maybe like 75% of the episodes in the past, but not in the series, like each season. So I have been watching all the episodes, but as you watch like a few clips on YouTube, for example, then YouTube will start recommending other stuff that they know that I might like. It's so good. So they started YouTube started recommending Seinfeld interviews and just other things that Seinfeld has been doing after the sitcom, right? And it's just amazing, like the work ethic that he has. And he's very much like, we're showing up every day. We're doing the work. I mean, he's such a, to be redundant, a hard worker. And he's like so into the craft of what he's doing. He's so into it. It's like intense. It's so intense. And it's awesome to see some of the interviews where the interviewer perhaps didn't prepare ahead of time. Maybe I'm getting some influence from him, but like the interviewer, for example, didn't prepare ahead of time enough and he like throws it back in their face and sort of heckles them a bit. And, he works hard and he expects you to show up and you should have done your homework to have like really good questions. Now, in the interviews where the interviewer was really prepared, I mean, he compliments them. It's really awesome. So Seinfeld is awesome. And I happened to see, again, on the same note, YouTube knows the stuff you watch. So I guess Kevin Nealon has a show where he invites his buddies, other comedians or actors or whatever, to go hiking with him. And it looks like he just has like some sort of selfie stick GoPro situation. So he'll go on a hike with his friends somewhere, I assume in the Hollywood area, and they are just chatting, talking shop, talking about their show. So it's pretty fun. Dennis says, you're still waiting on the interview with my buddy with a non-Amazon site. Okay. That I haven't done the interview on that yet, but hopefully I'll be able to share some of his like earnings reports and stuff like that soon. Like he does those. It's pretty awesome. Okay. And quick note, if we can, Duke, let's try not to I guess I've never used that service that you're describing. I know you seem to like it okay, but I don't know. I just since I've never worked with him, I don't necessarily want to send people that way. But if Anthony, you're taking it offline, feel free, knock yourself out. All right. Okay, Ravi says, um, well, I think you should explain the various tips for bloggers or affiliate sites to rank higher. So Ravi, I think I'm reading tone into what you're writing here. So I'll just answer the question. Generally, if you write good content and get links, then that'll help. So it's kind of a hard thing to answer. And I gave 3 tips. So I thought they were pretty solid. So I would check those out. All right. Jonathan says, you really appreciate all the free content. You learned so much. So thanks. Your site's only 3 weeks old. And you're excited to see where you're at in 6 months and take up the audit. Sweet, Jonathan. Good luck. As long as you keep moving forward, you'll be in good shape. All right. Oh, and Greta, you've changed your name there. I know who you are. So no reward for the guy who answered your question about the mug a few lives ago. I thought didn't I not reply back? I was like, yeah, that's exactly right. You nailed it. Jesse says, is there any public site that I recommend to guest post onto to backlink to a site? Generally, no. So, or actually, exactly no. Generally, I don't recommend that you go get a guest post where everyone else can guest post because if everyone can do it, it sort of lowers the value of the link. That's why, like, if you could go to, I don't know, like any of the social media platforms or anything similar and create a profile, well, it's a no follow link. And it's also a link that like anyone can do. Okay. Afsar says, you meant to say that is the KGR method works for long tail informational keywords. Yes. How long should a KGR post be? So at a minimum, probably 1,000 words. And I recommend you take a look at the frequently asked questions section. I answered a little bit more thoroughly, but in general, the content should be as long as it needs to be and no longer and no shorter, which is unhelpful, I realize. But if someone's asking a simple question, they don't want to read like 4,000 words. However, if it's a complicated question. For example, like someone was like, what are various tips for bloggers or affiliate sites to rank higher? There's like hundreds of things. There's hundreds of things. Someone asked me about like the top three. So I told you top three things that I was thinking about right now. So it's kind of fun to do the live stream, but sometimes like a better answer will be something that's thought out, edited. I write it down. Maybe I have some other people look over it and then publish it versus, stream of consciousness, which is what we're doing right now. So, Afsar, I was generally saying about 1,000 words. So, okay. And I think we're coming towards the end because I see a question that's asked that I already answered earlier. It's also in the frequently asked questions section. Kevin asked, how many articles should a niche site have at the very least, in your opinion? I recommend you start a site with 10 posts. Oh, yeah. Jay says, good lessons on being prepared and the Seinfeld anecdote. Thanks. And Mark says, what happened to the Tuesday teardowns? You love those. So I may do more of those. A lot of people actually really like those. And it's one of those things where it's a little tough because what happens is I don't, right, there's an endless number of affiliate sites out there that I could tear down. But I only like publicized or tore down a site which was already a public case study, or it was like owned by a corporation, right? Like the Wirecutter, something big. So there were some lists out there. There are some public sites just in general where people did like public case studies. So I only covered sites that were already public in some fashion. Now, if I just randomly went out there and, exposed people's sites, I find it unprofessional. Most of the people in internet marketing, let me take that back. Not most. There are some internet marketers that don't have a professionalism sort of metric in their head, but I do. So I try not to like expose people's sites because people could be making money to support their family. And I respect that. So I kind of ran out of sites to do. Now I could go back and keep doing the same ones. The other part is, how many videos do I have on the channel? Like 620 or something. I've said so much. I've talked a lot about different topics. Now, granted, I've gotten better over time, thank goodness. But at some point, it gets a little boring talking about the same thing over and over and over and over again. So part of the reason the vlogs are interesting is it's a little different, right? So if I could slice and dice the information a little different, that's good. But Mark, those were popular. All right, Manic says, I hope I'm doing fine. Your post ranks on the first page, but as soon as traffic comes, the rankings drop. Any advice? I would recommend that maybe you. Okay, so I'm not sure. Again, questions like this are really hard to answer. I'll make some assumptions. It sounds like maybe the content is not that good, and the readers are not enjoying it. So once you start getting traffic, they go to the page and they bounce. And then they go to another result who has better information. So I would potentially look at improving the user experience, make sure the content's really good, make sure the copywriting's good, make sure the grammar's has no mistakes and all that stuff. Okay. Kevin says, at what point is it too much? 40 posts? 50 posts? There's no upper limit. However, I'm going to make some assumptions again. If you are just starting, I would recommend you launch with the 10 posts that I just described. As far as, how much can you launch with? I mean, you could launch with 1,000 posts at the beginning if you want. But it'll take a long time. It'll be kind of expensive, either in capital or in your time if you're writing it. So I would say stick to the plan that I just said, 10 posts. So yeah. And Duke says that you have one site that has 70 posts, the other has over 500. Yeah. So generally there's almost no upper limit. Jesse says, Doug, you're awesome and very knowledgeable. You want to say thanks with all that I've helped you out with. Cool. Jesse, thanks for mentioning that. Okay. So Kevin says, so a niche site can basically have endless posts. Doesn't that make it an authority site and not a niche site? Well, you tell me, Kevin. Define both niche site and define authority site. And then it depends on how you define it. So if you want to call it that, that is totally cool. I find that niche site versus authority site is just a branding thing. And they are both affiliate sites of some kind. That's my opinion. All right, some other cool stuff that I'm into. If you're not like a subscriber to like YouTube Red or YouTube Premium, it's only $10 a month. I'm not like I don't think I get paid for this at all. Actually, I'm 100% sure I don't get paid for it at all. But what I was going to say is you also get access to like the YouTube originals, of which Cobra Kai is one of them, the great reboot of Karate Kid, I think better than the originals. And then the other thing is you get YouTube Music as well. So you can download music, create your playlist or whatever. But they also, again, they know what I like. I got the recommendation was like blues instrumental, like concentration playlist or something. So it was just all these nice like blues jams that had no lyrics or anything. So I could turn on the blues, listen to that as I was like writing the guest post I was talking about. So check it out. It's a good. I don't have Pandora or Spotify or any of the others. As I looked at the stuff that I was consuming, I have paid for each of those like in the past. But as I saw what I was consuming and what I was spending my time on, YouTube was one of them. And I don't like the commercials, ads. So YouTube Red, and now music is a nice byproduct. Is that from that? All right. Afsar says, what's my opinion on guest posting? I'm for it. I am for it. Okay, Kevin says you have 40 posts now and you're trying to figure out an end game. So, Kevin, I think that if you're making as much money as you want already and you think you can't add any more content, then 40 is enough. However, if you think that you have room to expand, then maybe set an intermediate goal. And Kevin, thanks for honing me in on like what you're actually trying to ask here. That's super helpful. Thanks. Basically, you could say, you know what, I'm going to add, maybe 20 more posts over the next 4 months or so, see what happens, see if like my prediction of growth, improving rankings, more revenue, like if that holds true, then you will be more confident to invest more. My hunch is maybe you just started your site, you put 40 posts on there and you're like, what do I do now? Probably you need to let it soak for a bit. You probably need to go out there and promote your site. To Afsar's question answer there, I think probably go network within the niche. See if you can do some guest posting. See if you could do some roundups on your site. Do like marketing type things. I think a lot of people, maybe it's my fault talking about publishing a lot of content and getting good results, but like it's kind of a sexy idea to like publish a whole bunch of content and then like let the money roll in. I mean, I have a lot of links to my site too. I had a guest posting service for a while. I mean, I've done tremendous amount of guest posting, and it's a really important part of the puzzle there. All right, Daniel, what's up? Good to have you on. The guy says, yeah, is this video going to be uploaded? It's literally like uploaded immediately afterwards. So yeah, it's just out there. Duke loves the blues. Nice. Jill says you have Spotify, so with YouTube you could listen without the video. Yes. For the car, it uses more data to have the video on. Yeah. Dan the Man's on. What's up? Yeah. So for the car, typically what I do, because it was typically when I've been traveling, I like used up all, like, we don't use too much data. We're usually on Wi-Fi. But while we were on the road traveling, I was downloading maps and trying to get directions and blah, 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 probably watching videos when I didn't realize I wasn't on Wi-Fi. But what you can do, yeah, you can turn off the video and then it uses less data. But what I've done is you can download the music within the app as well. So I'll like create a playlist or download like the blues playlist, and then it's downloaded on the phone. Then you could play it offline in your car or whatever you're doing. All right. Dan says that you've been stalking me. Cool. All right. Guess you're watching a lot of the videos or maybe sending emails or something. Afsar says, do I have any guest posting service? The answer is no. I sure don't. All right. So a couple other things that I've been into. I've been brewing a ton more beer. So I've brewed since like 2007 or so, and really got into it all the way through like 2013. Like really was doing a lot of stuff, and then like I was judging a ton of beer. I was brewing probably twice a month or so, and just kind of after I got into internet marketing, I wasn't brewing as much, which was fine. I mean, I was brewing some, but just not as much. And this year I wanted to brew like one time per month, but through just being busy, I like fell off the wagon, so to speak, and didn't brew a few months. And then the summer showed up, and then I was out of town some. But anyway, through the last 4 weeks, I brewed 3 times. I brewed 30 gallons of beer, really starting to build up a reservoir of beer. I have a kegerator, so there's plenty of room in there. I'm filling up those kegs. And then if I know a handful of people brew currently or have brewed in the past, carboys, those are like the 5 to 6.5 gallon glass or plastic jugs that people use to ferment their beer and or store it. So I have plenty of space there. So once I fill up I think 6 kegs that I have or so, something like that. Once I have the 6 kegs, they're all 5 gallons each filled up, then I can, continue to brew and still have probably 20 gallons of storage with the carboys. So I'll probably be brewing something again here pretty soon. Okay. Dan says you need your personal help, but broke. I don't know what to tell you, man. There's plenty of people that can help you, but I literally get, I don't know, 5 or 6 people a day to say audit their site or something like that. And I literally have no time. I get no money for answering the questions here. So I would say you should be able to figure it out on your own. I don't know what to tell you, Dan. Sorry. All right. Blacksmith says your site pops up for some keywords and then drops and disappears. Is it normal for a new site? The answer is yes. Anthony asks, how do you manage marketing my content after you're written your 10 articles, but want to write more? I have a lot of time constraints. So how do you manage to market after you've written, but you want to write more? Well, I'm not sure I follow 100% here, Anthony, but fight the urge to write more so that you have the time to do it, and then do the marketing stuff that we talk about, where maybe you go network within the community, within the niche, within like with blog commenting, for example, and then send emails. So fight the urge to do other stuff that you've already done, like the writing, and then do the thing that you're trying to do. Do I go to local brewing sharing community? It's a homebrew club. So yeah, I go to a homebrew club. I don't share. I mean, I bring like a little bit to share. Everybody brings a little bit to sample, so people could try what you have. But yeah, not really to get rid of it. I have some parties sometimes. All right. Dan says, no problem. You just wanted a friend in the business. Well, you have a whole community here, Dan. I try and I kick out the people that are mean or anything like that. So yeah, people are actually pretty helpful in the comments and in the chat here. Jehan, what's up? And let's see. Okay. I'm looking at my notes, seeing if there's anything else that I mentioned that was interesting in the last little bit. Cool. I think that's about it. If I saw right, I think my friend Alex over at WP Eagle is doing a live stream later. I can't remember if I saw that, but if so, you should check that out. Alex is great. He's more on the WordPress side. He's a WordPress developer, knows that stuff really well, and I don't. So check it out if you happen to take a look over at WP Eagle, Alex Cooper. So if you go over there, tell him I gave him a shout out. That's always nice. All right. Cool. And Dan the Man says, no problem. Rick and Jay, I guess Jim are available. Cool. Yeah, I thought they don't do live streams like this to my knowledge. And apparently their course is doing well. It looks like their channel's blowing up. So yeah, I think I have a lot of actionable content and like tutorials on my channel. I haven't seen as many on their channel, but they're great as well. All right. And Dan is saying you want friends and mentors, not just YouTube. So here's a tip, Dan. If you want mentors, you shouldn't ask them to be a mentor. You shouldn't say, hey, I need your personal help. Not the best. It makes me defensive. It makes me think, oh, this person is trying to take something from me without bringing any value. And I don't remember. I think maybe you sent me some emails in the past. So, but as it comes off just in this chat, it's unclear what's going on. So it's a little unusual. But that said, this is a great community. Income School, great community too over there. And then you have Alex over at WP Eagle. Everyone's like really nice and helpful. So, but if, don't ask someone to be a mentor because like no one wants to be a mentor, right? Like if for someone that asked, because it's like an unpaid, like free job. And, usually if you show up and you're like, hey, I'm doing work, asking interesting, smart questions, doing something helpful, bring value, then that's a good thing. So, and Dan, hopefully you're taking that with the intention that I'm trying to be helpful for you when you're approaching other folks. All right. Okay. And Dan, yeah, nothing personal. And by the way, Dan saying you apologize, do your thing. You're busy. You get it. You have things in return, but okay. Yeah. Cool. And I think I made my point. All right. Any other questions out there? Okay. And Jill, see, the great thing about the chat, especially the students and the kind moderators, thanks to all the moderators, Jill frames it in the right way. So thank you, Jill. Jill says, as a student of Doug, she's in the course 5-figure niche site. You want to say the course is great and it's for friends and mentors. Now you have plenty in the student group. So if I would have spun it around properly, that's what I would say. If you can find a community where you could come in, ask some questions, people are helpful, people want to give back, people have a little bit more free time than me, um, or at least for the specific purpose of like helping. Because I have 600 videos out there, right? So like I'm doing a lot. I'm doing as much as I can. All right. L. Smith says, "What's the nice way to say that in the corporate world? You get asked to mentor people, and that's exactly how I feel. I'm not getting paid for that." Exactly. Exactly. I don't know. I mean, I think the thing you can do, because I had some mentors that were just terrible, and they like didn't show up, and it was hard to get them to do anything. So yeah, I don't know. That's a good one. And L. Smith, I think I remember you from a couple live streams back. It's been a while. Glad you made it. All right, Dan says, "How much am I making per month off my own sites in total? Mind sharing?" I do mind sharing. I usually don't share that, just because it's some. Actually, you want to hear the real story. At some point, it becomes unrelatable, right? I think a lot of the most interesting, most popular stories, or at least interviews that I've done, or things that I found relatable, it was like when people were a little bit ahead of me, just getting started and stuff. So what I do share, Dan, is like snippets to illustrate case studies. So if you search my channel, you'll find one case study. I published a bunch of content, and revenue went from $100 to 15,000 per month, or at least in that snapshot that I shared. And then the same site, right? I'm usually only talking about one snippet of information, so I can provide a lesson, a case study, and then an action plan after that. Then you could sort of understand how to follow along and see the results. And I usually try to do case studies which are repeatable, not just for me, but for other people. Otherwise, it's just like a flash in the pan. So anyway, you find it inspiring. Cool. I'm making a good living now, better than I was when I was an IT project manager for a consulting company. So that usually gives you an idea of the scope. All right. Felix is new. Welcome. Awesome. Thanks for joining up. And I think we're starting to wrap up here. I see it's dwindling. People are losing interest as I am not answering questions well. So a couple more questions if there are any. If not, we'll call it a day. Got to go walk Georgie before I speak to Bryce, another fine student in the course. All right. So Felix is starting new. You'll have affiliate marketing. How can you start? So basically, take your time. So first, be patient. This is a process. And you missed the rant earlier, I think. Everything's a little hard, harder than you think. It's going to take 3, 4, 5 times as long as you think it's going to take. Be patient. Expect some things to go wrong, and know that you'll be able to correct course along the way. As Jill said, go to my channel and on the site, and you'll be on the right track. Head over to the frequently asked questions section and the niche site process. So there's links in the description. Learn the niche site process and basically follow that, and you'll see all the stuff that you need to get a hold of there. I think if you download the full PDF of that stuff, it's like 90 pages long. So go read all that, and then it'll get you off to the right start. All right. I think that's it. Thanks everybody for joining up. Again, just a reminder, no live stream tomorrow. That's why we're doing it today. And on Monday, look out for the new series on the side hustles. Really excited for that. And hopefully it'll go well. All right. Thanks everyone. Have a good rest of the day and weekend.